Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly my pleasure to be introducing yet another episode of the Mental Takedown. An old friend returns on today's taping of the show. I have my first ever repeat guest. A year ago, I wrote in the initial description that Josh Finesilver was gonna be a freaking dark horse as an All-American. And boy, was that so damn close to coming true. He had a heck of a run in March and came so tantalizing close to making me look like a darn prophet. Whenever I need a good kick in the ass and making me feel stupid, I bring on a Duke Brainiac to educate me about everything I don't know about wrestling. Josh has certainly been one of the most thoughtful people that I've ever had on, and I thank him so much for doing this again. As always, enough small talk. Enjoy part 2 of our conversation between myself and the wonderful Josh Finesilver, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, joining us once again for the second time is Duke's 149-pounder this time, Josh Finesilver. How are we doing again today, Josh?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Now, hopefully, are we enjoying life a little more? Because I know the first time we met, everything was kind of, buckled down. And so how are we doing since the last time we did this almost a year ago, or more than a year ago now, really?
Yeah, it's going good. Seems like we're coming out the back half of this of COVID, so things are starting to loosen up. People are getting vaccinated. Restrictions are kind of going down, so it's been kind of nice being able to get into some stuff that we used to be able to do before everything kind of shut down. So yeah, it's been good. I'm excited for the future, especially as things start to open up even more so than they already are. So yeah.
So where's the first place you went after you could kind of decompress and take an hour to yourself?
Trying to think. I love going to restaurants. So the fact that they were opened up was kind of nice, just sitting and relaxing, having a meal. That's something that I was looking forward to quite a bit. So
Is the scene over there? Is the food scene pretty good over there in Duke? Where's the cool spot?
So Duke is in Durham, and Durham is kind of it's like a pretty cool city. Like especially downtown, there's a lot of cool restaurants and stuff. So I wouldn't say there's a one specific spot, but just a lot of different places that I like to go and just relax, have a good meal, and kind of hang out with friends and family and stuff.
So if we kind of look back, what was kind of the stuff? I'm interested to see what your take is, and I'll jump in here. But how did you think the season went overall, give and take everything that happened, and was obviously the late start, because obviously last time you were on, we didn't know what was happening, and we missed the whole first half of the season, so to speak.
Yeah, so just first and foremost, I was grateful to even have somewhat of a season. Like you were talking about, we didn't even know if we were going to have that the last time we talked. So it was nice that we were able to get some matches, and I think I wrestled like 15 matches, which compared to a regular season is like probably less than half, but it was still so. Like I said, I'm just so grateful to be able to do that because I love competing, love being able to wrestle. And then as far as the season goes, it was a shortened season, which in my opinion was better. A shortened season is good for college wrestlers, less injury, less cutting weight, less harm on the body. So it's good. I feel like you really get guys at their best when you shorten the season versus when the season is kind of long, like a 6-month season, you're going to get guys that are, want to sit out a duel there, maybe a tournament or something in that. So I guess the shortened season overall enriched college wrestling and made it like better for everybody, especially fans and again, like the wrestlers.
That had, I mean, the trajectory of your season, that had to be scripted, right? Someone must have wrote. Who's pulling the strings behind the scenes?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of funny though, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, I kind of feel like your season was like. I mean, there's, there's no Hollywood director behind there pulling the strings, is there?
No, I don't think so. Not that I know of.
No, you moved. What you moved? What? This is your what third weight in 3 years, right?
Yeah, third weight in 3 years. Yeah.
Are we pulling a Kyle Jake, or are we staying put for next year?
I think I'll probably stay put. I found a good weight class that I'm comfortable. I'm not cutting too much weight, but I'm also not undersized. So I think I'll probably stay at 149.
So just kind of, we'll kind of go back and then we'll kind of start at the trajectory of when you had that when you had that wrestle off at the ACC, like kind of like they described it as a play-in for NCAAs. How do you kind of hold yourself together before that? Because I mean, you never want to leave it up to the selection committee. So I'm wondering, like, how did you keep it together, and how was revenge really on your mind given what happened in the duel?
So I wasn't really necessarily thinking revenge. I don't really have anything against him. It was just me trying to go out and do what I had to do. And he was standing in the way of that. So that just means that it was either me or him. So at that point, I was obviously going to choose me. Um, and then as far as like my mindset going into that match, um, I was mostly just trying to stay calm. I noticed that whenever I get a little worked up or anxious, stressful, um, that's when I start to make mistakes and kind of struggle a little bit. So when I stay relaxed and when I kind of stick to my areas that I'm good at is when I do my best. So going into that match, it was all about just staying relaxed, doing exactly what I had practiced with my coaches, and just going out and doing it. That was kind of all there was to it. And just keeping it basic, keeping it simple. That's kind of how I was thinking in my head. And I owe a lot to my coaches because obviously that's tough. You know, I'd lost to him 2 weeks earlier or whatever, and I had to beat him to go to nationals. And so I wouldn't have been able to do it without them constantly talking to me, supporting me, just kind of walking me through things in my head, and then just kind of coming up with a game plan slightly um, as to what I wanted to do and what I would be trying to look for during that match. So I owe a lot to them for that. But yeah, main thing is just staying relaxed and not getting worked up about it because at the end of the day, it's just another wrestling match.
So ACC's, if memory serves me correctly, ACC's all in one day, right?
Yeah, all in one day.
So after it was all over, and if anyone hasn't seen the shots of you after you won that match, after it was all over, like when was the first moment that it really hit you that you had, I mean, you pulled it off basically, because at the end of the day, yeah, it's great to win. It's great to win. It's great to win that conference and whatnot, but you know, when you make, all you ask for is a chance at nationals, right?
Yeah. Um, so I guess to that, I would just say going into the tournament in the morning, like during weigh-ins, I didn't know what was going to happen, but at the same time, I just knew like this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it happen. So there's that level of uncertainty, but there's also that um, idea of this is what I'm going to do and this is what's going to happen. So you have both sides of it. You have the unknown because obviously it's wrestling, anything can happen, and then you have the idea that like I have to think about it like this in my head um, for it to be able to like come to fruition, I guess. It's the idea of like manifesting. I'm going to think about it and I'm going to manifest this into existence. That whole week leading up to it, I knew that like this was my task. I was going to have to do this no matter what. There was no other way. I didn't want to leave it up to the selection committee because something could, something crazy could always happen. And I wanted to win that match. So the whole week it was just, I'm going to do this. This is what I got to do. This is what I'm going to do. And so I guess that was kind of the mindset going into it, is just like manifesting it and knowing that's what I'm going to do. So.
Now, not saying that you looked past your first round or anything, but given that there's only 6 people in every bracket, and given that you kind of knew a big kind of a big guy, like the number one guy who ended up winning the national title just a few weeks later, was waiting for you in the semifinals, basically, barring anything. Did you think about that at all in the morning, or?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to the idea. I was just trying to take it one match at a time. Um, Anything more than that, you're just going to overwhelm yourself and it's going to get super stressful. And like I was saying, like I'm at my best when I'm relaxed. So going in, I was just focusing on that first match. And as soon as that match was over, it was okay. Now I'll think about this match coming up and I'll figure out what I got to do. But trying to look ahead and like think about how the bracket's going to play out or who I'm going to have this round or whatever. That's just a good way to for guys to get upset and for me to come out and lose first round because I wasn't even focused on that. So like I was saying, just focusing on one match at a time. And even before that, focusing on one period at a time, one takedown at a time, one score at a time. That's kind of how I do things, is just, all right, where is this next point coming from? All right, I got an escape or I got a takedown. All right, now how am I scoring next? Keeping it simple like that is how I kind of stay relaxed and not get overwhelmed.
Did you treat yourself after you made nationals?
Trying to remember. I think I might have had like a cheeseburger or something, but after that, it was right back to eating healthy.
So were you in there the next day? And so like, what you have? What 2 weeks off in between nationals and ACCs. How did you kind of keep it together and train as normal as you could? I guess were restrictions kind of still there at that point?
Yeah, so ACCs was on a Sunday, and I had 2.5 weeks until nationals, and so the next day, Monday, I was in the wrestling room, working on things, watching film, doing everything. I was preparing to make pretty much another training cycle, a short training cycle going into nationals. And so that was kind of the mood going in. And then as far as restrictions go, I had actually already gotten COVID early in January, late December, January. So I was no longer getting tested for COVID, even though within the ACC and at Duke, athletes were getting tested every single day. I did not have to get tested because I had already had COVID. So that was honestly turned out to be kind of a blessing, because then I didn't even have to worry about, popping positive for a COVID test and not being able to wrestle and not being able to practice because I already had it. So I had that certain period of immunity from it. So that was kind of nice. And so I wasn't really worried about restrictions or anything. And then Duke had just had such a quality plan of trying to keep everybody safe and how they were going to go about things with testing and protocol and stuff. So that wasn't even really on my mind at all going into nationals. The only thing that I was worried about was just getting better every day and trying to get ready for nationals and hit it, like try to get at the right point where I was going to be peaking when I got to the national tournament.
Wait, hold on. You got it at some point? Was that before the season?
Yeah, so I got COVID late December, early January, and so the way that they did it was I was quarantined for 10 days, and then when I came back, I had a 6-day program of returning to basically full activity. So I had to, I wasn't really allowed to work out those first 2 days, and then the third and fourth day, it was more and more, and then the fifth day, it was pretty close to full, and then the sixth day, I was finally able to work out and go back to normal. But even then, I was feeling it for sure during practices and stuff. I definitely would feel a lot more tired. It was not something I was used to. And so even those first couple matches, I was still, I personally feel like I was still trying to get back to my full shape and get back to my endurance that I normally have because of COVID. And I had mild symptoms. It felt like a light flu, but it was just afterwards that it was frustrating because I'm normally in very good shape and have a lot of endurance. And so that was something I wasn't used to from COVID.
So the season started like you said time went somewhere like what, late January is when that all the quarantine stuff ended for you, yeah?
Yeah, so I got out of quarantine like January 7th or something like that.
Well, the season started like what 10 days later. So were you while you were in that? Were you like, gosh, like after all this, like now, like like all that, like I could have gotten this at any time in the past like 10 months, and literally right when we're about to start the season, like, huh.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated, but at the end of the day, like there was nothing I could do about it. And so all I was kind of trying to focus on was just finishing up, not being contagious and getting healthy and getting through COVID, and then just getting ready to wrestle. Because I think our first duel was like 5 days after I was allowed to fully start training again. So I felt a little stressed from that because I was just a little nervous. Like I wanted to fully be prepared for that first match. But 5 days after having to take like 14 days ish off, didn't feel like enough. But I mean, there was nothing I could do about it. So I just tried to do my best.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of people don't make it out of the other side that way. So
Yeah.
major props. So I guess since you didn't have to get tested, what do you remember from nationals 2 years ago, and then finally being able to go? Like, was taking the bus ride there and doing that, taking the flight or whatever y'all had to do, was that kind of, what was kind of the mood? Because what, y'all were on your own, right? So it was just you and your coaches, because you were the only one that made it. So what was kind of the mood going into nationals, especially maybe like the day before?
Yeah. The mood was just nothing changed, even though, it was during a pandemic. There's all these restrictions, people getting tested. We have to wear masks everywhere. We took a charter plane out there, which was actually kind of fun. But even though all that was happening, it was just the same thing. It's just wrestling. It's still the national tournament. Nothing really changes about it. At the end of the day, you have to go and wrestle and beat guys that are trying to beat you. And, you have to wrestle hard and try to be an All-American and win a national title. And so none of that had changed. So even though there was a lot of stuff surrounding it, it was the same mentality, same ideas and thoughts going forward.
And then when the tournament finally, first of all, I have to try again. Did you at least when did you know? Did you watch the selection show? I have to try again. Oh, did I cut out there?
I think you might have, yeah.
I have to try this again, and we'll see if we'll get the same answer. But did you watch the selection show at all?
No, I actually didn't. I just saw the brackets later. I didn't watch the show or anything at all. I just saw that they had come out, and so I just briefly looked at it.
And well, I guess eventually, because the story ends pretty well. So I guess we'll start with, 5 seconds into the national tournament officially starting, you're kind of staring at the ceiling, right? So like, I guess in the match, because you fought back incredibly well for what happened. I guess during the match, how did you maintain composed? And then obviously after the match, were you like, it's not easy to come back from that, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of brutal, obviously starting off. I was just trying to, keep surviving during the match and keep and just keep the match going and stay off my back. And so I finally got off my back, and then I started coming back a little bit, and then I got hit in a big move again, which was frustrating. And so coming off the mat, that first match, I was just mainly just frustrated. Just because I knew like that wasn't representative of how I can wrestle. I was upset because now I just, I lost first round. I got a long ways to go to being All-American, but I was just like I said, just frustrated. And so after a few minutes, I had calmed down. It still stung quite a bit just because it's frustrating, like I said. And I had calmed down, and I guess at that point it was like, all right, well, now I just got to do some work on the back. I got to win a bunch of matches, and that's my only option. No part of me wanted to just give up and let it go. I really just wanted to just keep wrestling at that point. There was nothing to lose. I couldn't be a national champion, but now I just got to wrestle, and my back was against the wall, and I just had to keep going. So that was kind of the only thing.
Do the coaches kind of know like what to do with you at this point after you lose? Like, does anyone say anything? Do they give you like your half an hour to yourself, just kind of in the room to let you do whatever?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there was a few words back in the tunnel after the match, but other than that, they kind of knew how I was feeling and what was going on in my head. And so, they're just the coaches, they just know exactly what to do. And so they knew that I kind of wanted some time to myself and that I was going to come back and be ready to wrestle. And they obviously knew that I was frustrated. So they gave me a little bit of time. And obviously it's a national tournament. So it's a time where all of the technique and stuff has already been put in. You're not really going to learn much at the national tournament. You just gotta wrestle. And so they weren't trying to really correct me much. It was just, all right, forget about it. Let's move on to this next one. That's what we got to worry about now. That match is over with. It's in the past. Let's go get ready to wrestle. So that was kind of the idea and the mentality going forward.
And obviously it worked out pretty well. And so when you have I guess I hate seeding, by the way. I am a strong proponent of actually random, probably a hot take on. We'll see. Well, actually, we'll see what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. What if we had a random draw at the national tournament?
I would say I think seeding has a place. Definitely think it's the right move. Random draw kind of eliminates a lot of guys that you can find a lot of issues with the random draw with guys that are all American caliber and they're wrestling each other first round and on the backside and they don't really get. It's tough because you at the national tournament you got to beat everybody, but at the same time I do think seeding is important. As far as the seeding committee goes, I think it's a little flawed. I'm obviously biased because I feel like I've been, done dirty a little bit by the seeding committee, but I think there's a better system. I don't know what the system is, but I do think there are other options as to way to make it better.
It's not you think that you were done dirty. You were done dirty. There you go. So I guess when you're wrestling, what was it? The second round where you're wrestling another top 10 guy, and were you still as composed as you were before? Were you just kind of still like, it's still nothing to lose, right? Because at that point, like anything goes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had nothing to lose at that point. And then also, like, I feel as once you get to the national tournament, the seeding, the rankings, none of that really matters as much. You see it all the time, guys beating people they're not supposed to lose to, and then guys who aren't supposed to lose and they get upset. So I think that isn't as much of a factor when you get to the tournament. And so the seeding, at a certain point, it doesn't matter, but it does matter. But yeah, I was just trying to stay composed. I was much more relaxed going into those matches because, like you said, I had nothing to lose, which is kind of gives you a little bit of freedom and peace of mind that when you have nothing to lose, you can just kind of let it fly. You can let everything go, leave it all on the mat. And so that was something that kind of helped me mentally.
So how do you, I guess, obviously after you pin someone on paper that you're not supposed to beat, but that happens at the national tournament all the time. How do you not get too emotionally charged up, because you still had matches that day, right? After?
Yeah. So it was pretty much just me thinking like, all right, well, just like the match where I lost, it's in the past now. You can't dwell on it. You got to get ready for the next one. So although it was kind of like exciting, it was fun. I had to be ready for that next match, and so that was kind of my thought process. As soon as it happened, I was pretty pumped up. But then minutes later, it was in the past. I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. I was ready for that next match, trying to get my mind right and get calmed down again and get relaxed and get ready to go for that match.
I'll ask you because someone brought this to my attention, which I kind of actually forgot that happened. They split. They split the 10 weights into 2 sessions this year. Did that change kind of the way you approached anything, or the way you thought about it, or the way that you attacked anything?
Honestly, not really. It was still the exact same thing. Like I was saying, it's still all wrestling. I still had to go out and wrestle my matches. And I just remember like all of the upper weights, like the 65, 74, 84, 97 heavyweight guys. I don't remember seeing any of them wrestle because I wasn't even there in the arena. I wrestled my matches and then we'd go back to the hotel, relax, shower up and then head over for the next session when it was my time to wrestle again. So I didn't even really see any of those other weights wrestle, the upper weights, which was definitely different because I like to keep track a little bit of like some of the ACC guys, some guys that I grew up with wrestling and see how they're doing, which was something that I didn't really get to do as much this year, which I mean, wasn't a big deal, but it was just something different.
Did it have a nationals feel, so to speak, or did it kind of feel a little bit more? I don't think dry is the right word, but do you feel like this year finally, like it's the true? Because some of the guys weren't there, the Ivy League guys weren't there, whatever, yada yada yada. Like, do you feel like this year is finally the true nationals that'll give some more optimism to not only fans but to you guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, this year will definitely be nice having everybody back, but to say that last year wasn't a true national tournament, I think would be doing a little bit of a injustice to it. Because I mean, it was still the national tournament. Guys were still trying to fight and win every match, fight for every point. People were still national champions, and so I think there was nothing different about it. It was just obviously less fans, and then we're missing the Ivy Leagues. But at the end of the day, I felt like it was the same atmosphere. I felt like it was um, the same just like mentality of everybody there that they were going to win. They were going to go be a national champ. They were going to go be an All-American. Everybody was thinking the same thing. And it was kind of funny because even though there weren't really that many fans, when something crazy would happen, you could still hear the arena going crazy and hear the collective gasp or the collective like cheering of the arena, which was still pretty cool to see considering there really wasn't that many people there.
So I won't ask about your blood round match, but did that kind of give you, when you finally had time to reflect on everything that had happened, is it ultimately in that positive?
Yeah, it's hard to say. um, that match still definitely has an effect on me, and I feel like sometimes I think I'm over it and it doesn't really affect me. And at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason, but it's still, I'm still bothered by it a little bit. I still think about it a lot. I think about what could have gone differently, but overall, I just had a lot of fun wrestling at the tournament. I would just categorize the national tournament as fun. I didn't walk away being an All-American, but I left everything I had out on the mat. I gave it everything I had. I put my heart and soul into it, and so that's all I can really ask for. So knowing I did that, and that I came away with the results that happened, I can live with that. It still bothers me a little bit, but I gave it everything I had, which is all I can ask for.
It stings, but and it's okay to say it stings, but we have. So has that fueled you this off season, so to speak?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely lit another fire under me and got me to keep going and work even harder because being so close is something that has been hard to come to terms with. When you're right on the brink of being an All-American and it slips away. That's the hard part of trying to think that through, trying to deal with that.
Quick little side note, because I know in every single interview slash, thing, including mine the first time I asked his name, but following your brother's Olympic journey, I guess what was that kind of like? Because I followed it just as a spectator. What was it kind of following it like as a as a sibling and as someone that you have seen in your backyard for like what your whole life?
Yeah, it was fun. I'm so proud of what he did and the way he competed and like kind of like I was talking about, he just put his heart and soul into everything, gave it everything he had, and so that was something that I'll always be proud of that. I'll always be proud of somebody giving their best effort regardless of the results. I've talked to him a little bit about it. He says it stings. He was a point away from going to the Olympics, but like he was saying, like you said, it just kind of fuels you for next time. And it's those kind of moments that define who you are and who you'll become. And so I personally feel like I don't need those moments, but when they come, instead of trying to get rid of them or trying to hide them from me and forget about them, I kind of use them to define my life and to use that adversity to put myself in a position where I can succeed. It's the adversity that kind of helps me grow. It helps me become better at everything I do.
And then one last little side note: is your twin ready to rock and roll this year now?
Yeah, he's been chomping at the bit, man. He wants to wrestle so bad. It's been like over 2 years since he's competed in a folk style match, and so he's dying to get on the mat.
I guess one last little side note here before I let you go, because somehow half an hour went by like that. I was just kind of looking back and looking through Twitter and socials and over the nationals, like every single situation, possibility, whatever. The Duke social media team has like you doing some kind of like pose, motion that they're ready. They're like on it right there. Did they make you do all those? How long did that photo shoot take you to complete?
So they choose like one day every year, like at the beginning of the season or beginning of the school year, and they'll have us just come in, take a bunch of pictures, do a bunch of those like gifts, give us a bunch of props and stuff like that, and then they just kind of load them up and keep them in their back pocket for social media whenever they need to use it.
Is there still a good one that we haven't seen yet?
I honestly don't even remember. It's like I'm in the booth for probably like 5 minutes, and our Blue Devil Network guy, the guy who does a lot of that stuff, is just telling you to do, different thing after different thing, just over and over again. And so I don't even remember. I don't even know what they have. I'm kind of surprised every time they post it that I even did that. I don't even remember them.
So you're like, huh? I wonder when did I ever do that? Right? You're sitting.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that I could do that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for doing this again. As always, I will send you the file and all that stuff, and you can parse through it, run it through the Blue Devil guy, whatever you need to do with it, and should be out soon.
For sure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take it easy.
You too. I'll see ya.
See ya.
Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of The Mental Takedown. I promise come March 2022, Josh will be an All-American. He is no longer a dark horse. He's certainly going to be a prime candidate come this season. Again, many thanks to Josh for doing this, and of course I wish him the very best of luck in his All-American and National Championship goals. If you did enjoy that episode, don't be afraid to give us a like, subscribe, and do all that other content creator stuff. Follow us on the social media. We're also on all of your favorite podcast platforms, so we are literally everywhere. This is Daniel saying, until next time, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for tuning in.